Hello, it's Mac here, and today I'm talking about dual wielding in Red Dead Redemption 2. So, in the trailer for Red Dead Redemption 2 that got released a few days ago, there wasn't really that much to go off of, at least for gameplay elements. They showed off a lot of the world, but not so much of the actual gameplay, and there wasn't much of that in the trailer. However, one thing that is a little bit noticeable in the trailer, in a few moments, is dual wielding. So, if you don't know what dual wielding is, it's basically whenever you take two usually handguns, and you just hold one in your right hand and one in your left hand, so you have two in your hands and you're firing up at the same time. And this is something that is pretty standard in, just Wild West media, so Wild West films, just stories of the West. Now this can be seen at the end of the trailer whenever they show off the 7 riders on their horse, and the guy on the very far left, so, the leftmost guy, he's actually holding 2 revolvers in his hands while he's riding a horse. So pretty much this kind of shows off that there will be at least some sort of dual wielding in the game. And you can also do it while you are riding a horse. And as you can see, he's holding 2 revolvers. You don't see him ever shoot it or really anything, but he does kind of like pull them up and you can see him. There's also another point in the trailer which doesn't show off dual wielding necessarily. As you can see in this image right here, he's the third guy from the left, and he is holding a revolver in his left hand, but you can't really see what's in his right hand. So maybe he's just left-handed, and maybe that's a feature, or maybe that's, just something, dealing with his character. We don't know if, these 7 riders are like playable characters or anything like that. So we're not too sure on that. But it could just be that he is left-handed, and he's just holding his revolver in left hand. But it could also be that he is dual wielding. All the other characters, at least from what I can see, are right-handed aside from him. So maybe he is holding another weapon, dual wielding. We're not too sure yet. There's also in the promotional art they showcased with the 7 guys, with the sunset behind. In that sort of art, we have also seen another person kind of dual wielding. It's hard to say. You can see the guy who's 6th from the left, or 2nd from the right. You can see that he has 1 revolver in his left hand, and then something in his right hand. Now, I'm not too sure if that's another revolver or, if that's another weapon, or it could just be a knife. I'm not too sure. It looks, very small for it to be a revolver, but hey, maybe that's just the angle. We're not too sure yet, but that could be another revolver, or it could just be like a knife or, something else. But, this does kind of just confirm that there will be some sort of dual wielding in the game. Now, it could just be just for the trailer. We don't know yet. But I'm really hoping that there is sort of dual wielding in this game, because that would just be so cool to do. In the Wild West, there was actually a number of people that would dual wield, and there was a few reasons for you to actually dual wield. One of the reasons was if you had 2 revolvers, you could just fire them much faster. Let's say you have 2 revolvers where you have to pull back the hammer after each fire manually. So if you had to take those few seconds to pull the hammer back to fire again, then that could take a bit of time. And, if you keep doing that all the time, you could get shot during that. So what some people would do is they would take 2 weapons. So let's say they have 2 revolvers. They fire their one in their right hand, and then while they're cocking the hammer back, then they'll fire their left one, and they'll just keep going through that action. So basically, you're doubling your fire rate that you could have. Another thing is that, if you had a 6-shooter, well, that's only 6 shots. If you had to kill more people, well, if you had 12 shots, most likely you're going to kill anything out there. So that's another good thing. So you just didn't have to reload as often because you have double the ammo. But we're going to have to wait and see how the gameplay mechanic works in this game. We're going to have to see how you dual wield. Is there any specific requirements that there is? I'm sure you're not going to be able to dual wield like 2 super big repeaters or anything like that. So it's probably only going to be handguns. We have seen, sort of sawn off double barrel shotguns in this game. So maybe you'll be able to dual wield those, revolvers, maybe lever action weapons if they're small enough. That may work. So like a lever action shotgun or something like that. But other than that, it's mostly just going to be handguns and stuff like that. Maybe you could dual wield a pistol and then maybe like a Molotov or, dynamite or something like that. Maybe you could do that. Maybe even you could have like a knife out or, a hatchet or something like that as well. So that if somebody gets up close, then you could take them out with that knife or whatever you want to use as a melee weapon. So basically what you're going to be able to do is get more firepower. If you have 2 dual wield weapons, you're going to basically get a lot more firepower downrange, which is going to be quite nice. Maybe the drawback will be, though, is that you're going to have more recoil, maybe, less accuracy, something like that. And also, you're going to go through a lot more ammo. If you fire a lot faster, you're going to go through a lot more ammo. The last Rockstar game that has had dual wielding was actually quite recent, and that was Max Payne 3. That game came out in 2012, and if you don't know what Max Payne 3 was, it was basically a sort of third-person action shooter. And in that game, the main draw, or one of the main draws, was that it was mostly centered around pistols and handguns and stuff like that. There were rifles and shotguns and LMGs and snipers and all that in that game, but for the most part, a lot of people, myself included, loved to play with the pistols in that game, because in that game, the handguns, you could dual wield them. And that game, was very fast paced, very action centered, so it was just a lot more fun to use the pistols in that game because you could dual wield them, and you could dual wield any combination of weapons, whether that's 2 revolvers, 2 semi-automatic pistols, maybe a fully automatic pistol, and then a revolver in your right hand, or whatever combination you wanted, you could do that. The sort of problem is that you went through a lot more ammo. Well, let's say you have 2 fully automatic SMGs. Sure, you can get a lot more damage downrange, but at the same time, you're wasting a lot more ammo because you're still drawing from the same amount of ammo. Now, if GTA 5 had dual wielding, that wouldn't be too much of a problem because you can hold so much ammo in GTA. But in Red Dead Redemption 2, I'm sure they're going to limit you on how much ammo you have. So that is one problem, and that was one problem in Max Payne 3 because ammo wasn't as plentiful and you couldn't carry as much max ammo as compared to GTA 5. So we're going to have to wait and see. Honestly, what I'm sort of hoping for is that if you can dual wield in Red Dead Redemption 2, is that you do have more control over which weapon gets fired at which specific time. Whether that, let's say if you're dual wielding, your right trigger is controlling your right weapon in your right hand in-game, and then your left trigger controls your left hand in-game. That would be nice. In Max Payne 3, it was basically if you... LT was still your aim down sights, and then your lock on and stuff, and then RT was fire. Doesn't matter if you're dual wielding or not. In that game, if you were dual wielding, you would just fire both at the same time, or if you had an SMG and a revolver or something like that, you just fire whenever you could. So it wasn't like, oh, I can fire my revolver, then finish them off with an SMG. You couldn't really do that because they'd just be firing at the same time. So you're just going to go through a lot more ammo whenever you maybe didn't want to. A lot of games that do have dual wielding do include that feature. Right trigger means your right weapon, and then left trigger means your left weapon. I would love that a little bit more. Maybe, the caveat to actually using dual wield in Red Dead Redemption to make it not super overpowered would be that you just can't aim down sights because your left trigger is being replaced with your left weapon. Anyways, what are my thoughts on this in the comments? Are you excited for dual wielding in Red Dead Redemption 2? Do you not like the feature? Do you think that this is just, for a promotional, and this is just for, the trailer and stuff like that? It may not even be in the game. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Hope you all enjoyed. Feedback and subscription. I'll see you guys in the next video.
This is a spot, all right, but damn it, one measly chest. Well, it's all yours, partner, for your troubles. I'm a man of my word.